All right, welcome everybody. We're here with Gina. She's a medium. I'm so excited to be bringing her on. Everyone has so much curiosity about the work that she does. I'm Michelle Hirschman with Hirschman Clinical Services. We do coaching work with folks with mental health, eating disorders, and substance abuse. We're in Los Angeles and Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. We are now going to have Miss Darcy. She is one of our coaches at Hirschman Clinical, as well as Director of Outreach, to introduce Gina today. Darcy?
Thank you, and hi all. I'm Darcy, and glad to be back for another web event with everybody and Gina today. I'm honored to introduce you, Gina. Here she is. Gina Klein resides in Kansas City, Missouri, where she works as both a writer and a medium. She's a published author with 2 books available on Amazon: In Touch with Heaven and Peace, In Touch with Heaven, and Peace, Love, and Angels, My Heavenly Encounters. Gina first began seeing and hearing spirits and angels as a child. When she told her parents, they encouraged her to talk to the apparitions, so she did, and she's never stopped. As an adult, she enjoys bridging the communication gap between the other side, air quotes, and here for her clients. Knowing our loved ones who've passed are still around us helps our psyche so we can continue on our earthly path with confidence. You can find out more about her at ginaklein.com and go there to schedule a session and listen on for a lot more. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Michelle and Gina.
Lovely. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome again, Gina. I've had the opportunity to have a reading with you. It was very healing for me because I got to connect to my father who passed many months ago. And it just has put a smile on my face with the connection that I got to have. I guess I'm one of the questions that I wanted to start with, Gina, is just about the work and who you like to work with and what kind of people are you hoping to attract that want to kind of hire you on? And are there certain types of people that maybe you would be saying, maybe deterring from getting a reading from you?
The most of the people who come to me as clients, they're grieving. They're grieving their loved ones, and they just they come because they want to hear their family, their friends on the other side, what they have, what they want to say to them, what else they have to say to them now that they're over on, not here anymore, but on the other side. So that's the majority of my clients are just, some of them are curious to see what their loved ones would say to them if they were to connect with them. And, some of my clients want to ask them questions. Maybe, sometimes about things that happened in the past that they never really understood, with their loved one. I get all kinds of different people and all kinds of different reasons why they came to me to connect. But most of all, they all, no matter what they say they're there for, in the end, it's they love the love that they have with their loved ones, and they just want to hear, sometimes some last words that they never got to hear. Some, like they want, maybe have questions about something in their lives that they never sorted out before they passed. So, and then I just have some people who come in just curious, just to see what happened, what comes through, who comes through. And so, I kind of go with the flow. Whoever comes to me and whatever their intentions are with their loved ones who come through, I just do my work and let it come through. So yeah.
Lovely. I'm wondering if you can share with us a little bit about when you realized you were able to speak to people that have passed or spirits of all varieties.
Okay. I love to talk about this because I was a little girl. I was about, I would say 7 years old, 8 years old, somewhere in there. But I would see spirits in my bedroom at night, especially at night. There were 2 to 3 that would hang out around my closet area. And I didn't know who they were. I just knew that they were there. And it was interesting because they would never really show their faces. Like it's like, and I think now they didn't want to like frighten me. But I saw their whole auras. I saw the shape of their bodies. It's just all lit up. Like a silhouette, a beautiful silhouette, and it was just this kind of a white, yellowish silhouette of their body standing there. And it was, at first it scared me because I wasn't, and I would tell my parents, I see these people, these that are standing in the hallway. Sometimes it was in the hallway. They would be standing there right in front of my parents and my brother's door. Other times, almost every night, they would be by my closet. But my parents, they were very good about talking to me about it. And they eased my mind, telling me that they're just guardian angels. They're not going to hurt you. And so I took that, and I kept trying to remind myself, okay, they're just my guardian angels. They're just my guardian angels. They're not going to hurt me. And they never did. They never hurt me. They just stood there. So that was kind of where it started. And then as I got a little bit older, probably about 10 years old, I finally told my dad about the spirits again. And he gave me the idea of, well, why don't you try talking to them? Which is surprising that my dad would say that, I have to say. I would think my mother would have said that before he would. So he said, why don't you just talk to them? And I thought about that for many days. I remember this. And so one day I didn't really know how to talk to them. So I thought, well, how do I just talk to them like out loud? So one afternoon when everybody else was out of the house, I sat right there in the hallway, and where that spirit in the hallway was always standing there. And I just sat there, and my mom had this game in the cleaning closet, and it was it's kind of like what's the name of that game where you can talk to spirits?
Ouija board?
Kind of like a Ouija board, but it wasn't a Ouija board. It was some other type like that, though. And so I knew she had that up there, and I never understood it. So I kind of read it, and I was like trying to see, oh, is this gonna make them talk to me? So, but it failed. So, and I didn't know how to do it. But I'll never forget sitting in the hallway that way, like that day, trying to figure out how do I talk to them. But then another about year or two later, I realized, oh, and I did have one little spirit that did say things to me. it was a little boy. It was a little boy who would come up to me when I was sleeping and right in my ear would say, Gina. And that was all he would say. And I would jump up out of bed as a child and freaked me out. And that was scary. That was very scary for me. So that, went on through my childhood up until I tried the fake Ouija board or whatever you want to call it. That didn't work. So I kind of gave up then on it. I thought, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. My dad doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, anyway, so that's kind of how it all started. As I got into my teen years, I still had them around me, but I tried to push them away as much as I could, like, because I didn't want to be scared at night. I don't like it when people come to me at nighttime. But during the day, it was much easier. So, I started talking to them, but usually when I spoke with them, I would go in my closet, especially as a child. It's another part of what I did. I would go in my closet, and that's where I would pray, and that's where I would talk to my grandmother who had passed, and that was kind of my secret spot, is going in my closet with my dolls and with my stuff, and just talk to grandma. And I tried to talk to my angels or whoever, because my mom always taught me that I had guardian angels. And that's really how it all started. It was just, little bit of this, little bit of this. It was just always around me. So yeah. And then as I got older, and then I tried to push it away back in high school as much as I could. Didn't want people to know. And then college was, kind of the same. And then after I graduated college, more stuff started happening around me, spirit wise. And then one day I just started doing what I do for other people, because I thought, what can I do with this? So, yeah.
And so are you fully embracing it now?
Yes, absolutely. At first, I was a little nervous starting out doing this for other people, strangers that I don't know. And how are they going to receive me? Are they going to think I'm weird? But I did have a friend I met who helped me through it. And that was what set me on my way into what I'm doing now. And she had a lot of the same
Gifts.
spiritual. She does, she was able to connect with loved ones as well, and she helped me through it. With coming out and doing what I do. She helped me made me feel normal. Put it that way. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing readings then?
I have been doing them since 2010. So do the math. Yeah. Since 2010. And this is 15 years. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing that your family was so open to some extent, right?
Yeah. My mom was open. She, she believed in going to psychics and things like that when she was younger, and she still does, and I was surprised my dad was so open to it. When I was a kid, you just never know. I think a lot of people really don't think about it until somebody brings it up to them, if you know what I mean. Like it's not something people just come to you and just start talking about, because it's kind of a personal thing, I would say, for most people. But yeah, my parents both were very supportive of me as I was growing up with all of this, and it helped me so much.
I think you had, you had shared, and if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay, but I'm actually kind of curious. I think you have children, don't you?
Yes, I have 2 daughters.
Have they approached you at all with this gift?
Yes, yes, they do.
That's amazing. Oh gosh. And they get to have you as a mom, so
Yes,
you're
yep.
nurturing it. And if they can
Mhm.
start nurturing it now, that's so cool.
Yes. My older daughter likes me to connect with um, her spirit guides and such often.
Really interesting. So,
Yeah.
um, can you explain for some folks out there that have never had a reading, like what that entails, what they can expect from the start to the end?
Absolutely. Um, so I have a lot of people who come to me who have never had a reading before. Um, and I always explain how it works before we start. Um, so basically, what I do is I always tell my clients, just relax. It's just like having a conversation between the 2 of us and somebody else that's in the room with us, because really that's how it is. Um, and I remind them, just breathe, and just don't get scared or nervous. Just if you have questions, and that you want me to ask them, then I will ask them those questions. Otherwise, we kind of go through and see what their loved ones want to say um, to them first, or however they want to do it. Um, and it's amazing because I have so many people who are, have never done this before, and they come to me and they're scared. They're very nervous. The majority of people are. And but as we go through that session, they just completely become so relaxed and so happy. And of course there's tears here and there depending on what comes through. And it's just turns out to just be this beautiful 1 hour time, with their loved ones, getting to tell them whatever they want to tell them, getting to hear what, maybe their parents or their grandparents or a child they lost comes through and bring something up that my client would have never thought that loved one would have known about, that because they weren't here when that happened. So I love to see the surprise and the just the love that comes through with all of these sessions. And I love to see when they're really nervous at the start, and then at the end they're so in that 1 hour meeting with, and talking with their loved ones, that it's almost like they're a different person in the end. That's how I put it. It's just, they're just so relaxed and happy. And that just makes my heart happy that I can help them release that stress and release that worry about their loved ones who've passed. Everybody wants to know, are they okay? Are they in a bad place? Are they in a good place? Never are they in a bad place. They're in a good place. And I love it how their loved ones will bring through things they know that they've been doing or have done recently. And, it's just, that's just how all of my sessions go. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's, and I get a little And no matter how long I do this, I always get a little nervous, with each new client, because I'm like, I hope everybody comes through, and and I always get myself ready before, and just kind of calm my own self, my own nerves, because I don't know, I still get a little bit of angst, like, are they okay, make sure everybody, I hope everybody comes through that they want to hear from. They always do, and I love that. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that ever has happened where maybe someone doesn't come through.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was super curious, like whatever method the person passes by, whether it's suicide or some kind of tragedy, it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying that there's all from your experiences, they're not coming in this like suffering state, you know?
No, they never do. They will talk about things that happened in their life
Mhm.
that were may have been negative then, um, but they they don't carry that with them where they're at, if that makes sense. Because as they talk with me and my client, um, they just talk. They just talk and talk about things. Um, Show me that sometimes they'll show me an image of something that they want, that like they know their loved one did recently, or what have you. Um, but it's never really negative ever.
Mhm.
Um, they may have done something wrong before they passed, or but they're they come through with healing words. They come through with things that they notice about themselves now, that they wish they could have turned back time and redone that back then. But it's all very healing. That's what I really love. I really love that.
What do you have like an ethos around that, as to why like let's say there was like I had a relationship with someone that was in turmoil before they passed, and then you connect with them. Has there ever been a situation where there's still turmoil, like the person that's passed is now still bad mouthing me
um,
or this, whatever circumstances? Is that from your experience, or is there like
from
a
my experience, I have not had that. The closest thing to that was one time I connected with somebody's son, and um, and the person who this one I had a client who was kind of a regular client, um, and she brought a friend of hers in to have a session with me, and um, and I connected with, like I said, their child, and when before their child passed, they did not have a good relationship. Um, and I my from what I recall, there was a lot of stuff before um, he passed. And when I connected with this person's child, who wasn't a little child, he was a teenager. Um, he came through like far away, like he was across the room, and his parent was sitting with me, and which that doesn't normally happen. Usually they come through like right with us. Um, but and so I was kind of curious, because that was the first time that happened. And then as we went through the session, um, he came closer and closer and closer. And then it became this beautiful session of the parent um, understanding what they didn't understand then, And the session ended with the parents completely seeing the other side of the situation that they had between them. And it was one of the most beautiful sessions that I've witnessed with two, one who's still here, one's on the other side, but they, before they passed, were bumping heads. We're not getting along. It was, and so that and how they kind of worked it out through the session with what they were saying talking to each other through me. And I mean, that is one of the most memorable sessions that I've had. It was beautiful. So yeah. So that was the most beautiful one that I've had. They're all of them are beautiful. But that one was just, I've never had somebody that was just like staying way back there, not knowing whether to come forward to speak. But other sessions, every session's different. Like I said, it just depends on each individual person that I speak with and their relationship with their loved ones.
Do you have any other people that, I mean, do you have friends that are mediums? Like, excuse me, do you have other friends that are mediums? And I ask because I'm wondering, can other mediums bring forth maybe more negative, toxic spirits? Or does it depend on you and who you are and what you do, or?
So what you're asking is if there's so if they were to see a client and then I see that same client, okay. So I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were talking about. But so I think a lot of mediums are different in how they do their work. There's always a little difference somewhere in there about, with each other's, how they like to do their work. I have never, I've never had people really talk to me much about any of my clients, other mediums, or, I mean, when they do, it's just kind of like, oh, I went to a medium before, but they didn't do what you do, or they did something different, I had a really good friend who did mediumship. In fact, she helped me feel comfortable in my own skin years ago. And unfortunately, she recently passed. So so she's the one great friend I had, who really, I mean, she pushed me to keep going forward. Try not to be emotional, but yeah.
She sounds like a lovely person for you. I'm sorry, and I don't think I've been very clear. I'm thinking about attachments. Like, let's say there's, especially in the work that I do, I didn't realize for a long time what was happening for me until later when I learned how to clear negative attachments. And I was curious if someone were to come in and get a reading from you and they had a negative attachment, maybe they didn't know, or they did know, would you be able to, and I might not be using the right language, but the attachments are in a state of unrest. They're not fully, because they haven't fully transitioned over, or they're in this middle ground. So, okay, you're nodding. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I just was speaking to that, if that was possible.
So I have had people who have come to me with that. Yeah. So are you wanting to know like how we go through that?
Yeah, are you able to speak to those, or do you do clearing, that kind of thing?
Yeah. A lot of sometimes we'll do some Reiki to kind of get some of that energy out. and along with a session of, connecting with that person. And it's very helpful. It is very, very helpful. I've done that several times for people over the years. And like I said, I like to mix a little bit of Reiki in there with it, for my clients, and then because that kind of helps them release some of that through Reiki, and then calms them for the session afterwards. And we just talk. We just talk with that loved one has been heavy, and not allowing him or herself to go on to where you need to be now. And it's a beautiful way to help them. And it really does help. It helps as with the therapy of just talking with their loved one who's passed, who's got some issues to deal with still. And then having my clients, say aloud, he or she will say aloud what it is they would like their loved one to know, or what do they want them to know, what to do, whatever it is that's hanging there. And that does work. It does work. It's I think it's a really neat, beautiful way to help with people who have those attachments to something in their lives that they can't let go, and they can't move on where they would probably rather be. So, yeah.
Good to know. Christy or Caroline or Darcy, do you guys have any questions you might want to ask?
Thing I was thinking of was you were talking about when you were a child and you prayed in the same closet all the time.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if, as you do something like that in a concentrated space, if that creates kind of an energetic vortex or place where it's easier for spirits to come through. Is that something that ever happens?
That's a good question. That the reason I chose my closet, which seems really weird, I don't know if I chose my closet because I always saw them by the closet. I don't know what went through my child brain at that time, like why I chose the closet. But I think a lot of it was maybe a little bit of that, but I think a lot of it was nobody knew where I was, and nobody would hear me, because I'm in my closet. I have the door shut. And, I would have my dolls in there, and I would have all my stuff, and I would go in there, and that was my sacred space. If I was upset with my parents, I would go in there and I would cry. If I was mad at my brothers, I would go in there and cry, and then talk to my angels and talk to God and that was just my sacred space. And I think probably, yeah, that's right in front of that closet is where I would always see spirit there, standing there, watching over me as I'm sleeping, which, so that's how I would answer that question.
Thank you.
It's a safe space.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And one, thank you for being so open. It's refreshing, and I feel your sincerity, and it's it's fascinating how much connecting with what's not visible can be portrayed or perceived until it gets opened up and it becomes visible and tangible and part of a conversation. I've been curious about how how you've cultivated your own connection with these abilities, these gifts, these, things that are possibly built into everybody that, that many don't pay attention to. I have a thought I'll share before handing over the question, that it's like, I think synchronicity and intuition and hunches or gut feelings. It's like that's something every single person I've ever met has experienced, whether they name it one way or, they don't name it at all. And I had it shared at many points, but one point specifically with me that every time there's an intuitive nudge or sense, that it's an invitation to connect with someone or something that hasn't been identified yet. And that just completely daunted me. The idea that anytime I would have that it was an invitation to have a conversation or find something, because I can be very quickly distracted in the world. So I don't need that every time I feel something. And that got me at least aware of the idea that there's a built-in ability in everybody to create some of these gifts and connections to use when we want to. And I'm wondering, in your experience, what's, if there's certain practices that you've cultivated to trust your intuition more, and hence be able to serve in this way because you've been so called to do so.
Okay, so yes, as a child, as I, in my closet space, I just felt, I think that's where it all began for me, is just, knowing that I'm in a safe area, safe space. Nobody's around me. Nobody hears me. I can talk to God. I can talk to angels and my past loved ones in there. But as I got older, I learned that, as an adult, I should say, not through high school or anything like that. But I started to realize that, why don't we talk about things like this? Everybody has an ability to see spirits, to hear spirits. We all are open in some way, whether you're more open to hearing things sometimes, or if you're more open to like seeing things, spirits in your rooms or whatever, or if it's just you get like those, almost like you hear a little something in your ear telling you something, or it goes through your mind just kind of out of nowhere. That's how spirit gets to us too. And for people to really find that peace that is theirs. Like, how do I say this? Like you were saying, how can I know or do, like, have that communication, or that how do I don't know, I'm just having like a moment of not knowing what to say.
Like how to embrace it.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean, it would be hard to, I would think it'd be hard to put into words the process of what's happening for you.
Right. And for other people, I just tell them, listen to what is coming through to you. And if you see, a vision in your mind suddenly pop through, that just randomly pops through, and you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. No, I mean, really pay attention to those little visions that you might see here and there. Don't cloud it with doubt. I don't, because a lot of people will push it off. because we all have abilities to speak with spirit in our own ways, to hear spirit in our own ways. We're spiritual beings. It's just that our bodies, block a lot of that. But the more you pay attention, the more you will believe in yourself and what you are experiencing. Does that make sense?
Were you also asking, like, are you able to turn it on and off? Because otherwise, like, you're going through your day and there's like spirits always talking to you, and you're like, dude, I'm just trying to drop off my kids at school. There's got to
Yeah.
be, yes, like there's rituals where you can be very clear with your boundaries. Like,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I have, even as I got older, I tell spirit, please don't wake me up tonight. Please don't wake me up tonight. Because I can't tell you how many times I would hear somebody right next to me and it wakes me up. And it's not my husband. It's someone else, like, on the other side of the bed, like standing there. I just ask them to help me sleep well and please don't wake me up tonight. Most of the time they listen to you. This depends. There are ornery ones. But yeah, when I'm day to day, I'm pretty good at blocking it for the most part. Um, I go about my work day. I go about whatever. Over the years, I've been pretty good about blocking it the best that I can. But sometimes I might be somewhere hanging out with friends or family or something, and I might have somebody come through and tell me that they want me to tell so and so this. Depending on who I'm with, I may tell them or I may not tell them, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who's open to that kind of stuff. So most of the time I keep it, zip my lip and don't say anything. But if it's a friend of mine who I know is open, then I'll tell them, or a family member. So I just kind of go with the flow and feel out what was said, and should I tell this person? Maybe not. They might freak out. I don't know them that well, So yeah. It's a challenge sometimes, but a good one, I guess. Definitely. And my older daughter does, she has a little bit of ability as well. She's been realizing since she was a little kid. And she's the one who comes to me most to connect her with her spirit guides and such. So yeah, so if something comes through for my daughter, I always tell her. Um, you know, but then my younger daughter, she's a little spooked of it a little bit. So, I'm careful around her. So I don't want her to be scared. Yeah. But it's not a scary thing. A lot of people feel scary or have people who tell them you should not speak with spirits. That's, not good or anything like that. There's no, all the years of my life talking with spirits, there's nothing bad about it. It's always beautiful and healing and fun. Because they just talk to us like they would if they were here. So yeah. So what I want to say to people is, don't be afraid of spirit. Don't be afraid of spirit. It's beautiful, and they just come around to visit and see that you're okay, and just let it be. If spirit is around you, just say hello. And if you feel a little nervous about it, ask them to, maybe not come by so much, or, don't make your presence known. So, and they will respect you.
Caroline, did you have a question?
Oh, so it's not really a question. Like maybe your spirit guides were creating the closet for the space for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that, and then I guess my question would be, um, well, I related with everything you said and I
Mhm.
do it. And
Mhm.
so my question is, um, well, I don't know. When I have conversations with people, like it's like I think I open to receive whatever information for them, and it sometimes it doesn't feel like I'm actually doing any of it.
Mhm.
That how it feels like it's like you aren't there.
Mhm. Yes, very
Yeah.
much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
To the point where by the end of the session, my head is like, I suddenly start feeling my head, and it feels like it's kind of spinning in a way. At the end, it's kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm in my body again. It's just, it's an interesting feeling. Very interesting feeling.
And then turning it, how do you turn it off? Like you said you set boundaries and asked them to go away, but
Mhm.
like because for me some of the information still trickles in later,
It does.
which I don't call myself a medium.
Mhm.
I this is a great discovery, right? So mm,
Um, yeah, I will tell you this, after a session, like an hour session, um, my whole brain, head, I feel like I feel like I'm floating. But it's like a heavy floating, kind of like I'm done, but oh my God, I can't do two 1 hour sessions back to back. That's too much energy. I have to space them out. Um, it's it's um it's just like all of that stuff that just came through for my client is just trying to get that energy
mhm.
out of me so that I can, and it usually takes a good hour and a half, 2 hours before I feel normal again.
The other question that I have is how do you protect yourself from attachments, or do you just take care of them after they attach? Because I'm kind of trying to figure that out. What
um, Honestly,
do you know? Do you always know if you get an attachment?
um, I don't have a lot of people attach, um, and I don't know if that's because after a session, I think I always quietly thank them especially after my client is gone, has left. I will sit down and I just kind of speak with whoever I was communicating with, and thank them and tell them that they did a great job and now they can move on, go ahead and go about your day. And I don't feel any attachments to them after. There's only been a handful that I really recall having that, and those were sessions where people who came through were their loved one who wanted to connect with that person. Well, they bumped heads in the end, before they passed. Um, so that stays with me a little bit heavier when there's a heavier session. Um, and then that is when like it just sometimes yeah, I have to like I have to Reiki myself a little bit and talk with the loved one that we connected with and just let them go. Yeah. But that doesn't happen. Like I said, that's more of a rare session than usual, normal ones.
Does it happen when you go out into the public?
It can.
Mhm.
It really can. Sometimes I might be shopping somewhere and I just suddenly get this horrible energy feeling near that person. And I just walk away before it can like, attach and to me in any way. Because, oh, I'll go around to the next aisle. That did not feel good over there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I guess one last kind of question to piggyback, Caroline, I guess, are there any rituals, like do you use sage? Do you use certain crystals to help repel everything?
um, Honestly, I do like having like little stones around me, or I pick a stone, like whichever one has energy that's speaking to me each day. Like I have I have a couple of stones here that, whoop, and I dropped one. And I don't know, I just went right before I speak with people. um I have just, I have a Shiva lingam stone, and sometimes I'll hold that depending on what energy my body is needing. Um, Sometimes I might hold that in an entire session. Um, and then sometimes I just have some stones around me that make me feel like everything's clear around me before I start. So that's kind of my ritual. And I also always say a little prayer before I meet with a client. I just pray for a good session and good energy. And yeah, that's my ritual.
Yes, thank you so much. This was awesome. I
Well,
appreciate
thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you for all joining. And I enjoy I love it when people ask me questions. And um, yeah, I think that's great.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. And I'm sorry, I just I talk a lot and and I get nervous too. So I'm kind of an anxious person. So this work I do kind of just calms me during sessions. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.